February the 14th, Saturday, not Sunday. And if you are hearing rain in the backdrop, yes, actually, I should say that is rain that you're hearing in the background right now, because I am in Southern California and it is really truly raining out here. For me, one of the benefits is I think I seem to have more experiences when it rains, and that's why I am reaching out to you today. Actually, I don't know if it's true if I have more experiences when it rains. It just seems like it's maybe a bit easier for me to have an experience. I don't have to necessarily have anything on in the background, no storm sounds. I have the storm sounds right outside. But let me get into this experience. And as I go through this experience, I also want to share some theories that my mother and I kind of came up with as we were discussing this experience, so that perhaps it will stimulate something in you, and perhaps you'll want to comment or give your own thoughts about this. But these are things that just came to me. This was, again, a brief experience, but as I have said before, and I truly believe this, the amount of time that one has an experience has nothing to do with the quality of that experience. So this particular experience happened sometime in the middle of the night, as it normally does. For those who might ask when I think is the best time to have an experience, whether it be beyond body astral projection, I think the ideal time is somewhere in the middle of the night or really, really early in the morning. That has been the consistent time for me. That has almost always worked for me. I have also had other experiences, by the way, guys. I've had them in the evening, the afternoon at times as well. But the vast majority of experiences I have had have been in the middle of the night or in the early morning. It's really that simple. So when I shut my eyes, I kind of had the intent to go somewhere and do something. By the way, as I'm going into this, I'm pretty certain most of you know about this green comet that came, that is kind of near our planet. Well, I mean, it's not really near, but you know what I mean. It's been like 50,000 years since it's been, I guess, this close. And my mother feels that this may have something to do with things that are happening on the planet, that sometimes this has an impact. And perhaps it is having an impact also on experiences. You may want to consider this, those of you who are struggling to either leave your body or to shift or whatever. You may want to consider that while this comet is around, maybe it would be a good time to at least make an attempt. I don't know if it will work, obviously, but hey, you might as well give it a shot. So sometime in the middle of the night, I lay down, shut my eyes. I may have had some talk in the background, but I had the volume down really, really low. So it was, I would even say, it was basically pretty quiet. I didn't have anything special on, let's just say that. Now, before I shut my eyes, I will note this part. As I was laying there in the darkness, I was, even with my eyes open, seeing little tiny flashes of things, like animations and other things, just really going by fast. And it was really, really light. I mean, I could barely see it. And it was one of those things where, you think you see something, you're like, did I just see what I thought I saw? It was that kind of thing. And then when I shut my eyes, it was a little more intense. Whatever images and animations I see, sometimes these things flash by, they're symbols, they're all kinds of things that I don't necessarily understand with my 3D mind anyway. Now, I would say within 10 minutes, maybe, if that, I could feel myself being pulled upwards. And guys, it was fast. Like, I have a normal kind of routine when I do these experiences. There's feelings that I have on each experience that are fairly consistent. I mean, some of the modes of transportation are different. Some of the ways I've told you about in the past have been different ways that I've gone about doing it in regards to movement, motion, these types of things, right? But I will tell you this, when I felt that middle space, split second later, I felt myself rising up. And I mean, I was rising up really, really, really fast. It was like I shot up in the air. And that doesn't normally, like, normally, especially if I'm doing beyond body. And I think this felt like beyond body slash shifting to me to a certain extent. You, Obviously, you guys will have your own opinions, your own thoughts on this. But I mean, I almost thought to myself, man, is this astral projection or is this beyond body? There was a second that I questioned. I was questioning it in my mind. I was just like, you know, gosh, I feel so light, and I don't normally feel that light when I haven't experienced the beyond body experience. So I moved up and I was in complete pitch darkness, and I was in the void. And I have talked about the void before. It is an indescribable place for me. It is darkness. It is pitch black. And I am turning as if in outer space. I am turning slowly without a sense or a feeling of gravity holding me. And just turning, really gradual turning. If you can think of astronauts that have been in space, that have walked, have done spacewalks, that's the feeling I feel that I have. I mean, I've never done that with my physical body, but that's what it feels like when I'm in the void. It feels like that. But there's also this feeling of warmth, and a feeling of what I would imagine it would be like to be in the womb. It is such an extraordinary feeling, guys. The first time I felt it, I made a video on it, and it was hard for me to even get out the words at times because it was such an emotional experience. You feel the connection that you have with all things. Like, literally, it is just so extraordinary. And this is all happening in pitch darkness, in complete silence around you. Wow. And I turned a few times. You know, I didn't necessarily count the amount of times that I turned in the darkness, but this is the other thing. And I want to kind of talk about these theories as I go along. You know, my mom and I have talked about the idea that the void is really truly space. I mean, you know, you look up in the air and you're seeing source, or you're seeing the void. Source and the void are basically the same thing. The source of all things is the void. And so we talked about this idea of space itself being the actual void. And I mentioned to her, I thought that maybe, you know, we're living beings. There are those who feel and believe that the planets and, you know, in some ways the stars are alive, everything is alive. And you're seeing one thing on the outside, in the exterior, just like when you look at someone, you know, someone's body. If you're seeing someone, you're seeing a friend, you're seeing a family member, and you're looking at their body, you're seeing one aspect of them. But then we know that there is a deeper aspect. There's their spirit being, their more expanded self. There's all these other aspects of them that we're not necessarily seeing with our physical eyes. And I was bringing up to my mom, I thought, you know, so the void could be outer space, but what if the outer space that we're seeing is just the exterior? Just like when we look at someone else, we're just seeing the body, we're seeing the shell, we're seeing something that appears to be empty. and cold as science has told us. But, if you were to look deeper, you would see that it is this expanded thing that is beyond our imagination. And perhaps when we astral project or when we shift, we're getting a sense of that, especially in the void. We're getting a sense of the true essence of what outer space is. Just a theory, guys. Just a theory. So I turned a while and then I came down. And let me tell you, I came down pretty hard. It was like I came down and I landed on both my feet and I felt it, boy. But it was a solid landing. So as light as I felt in the beginning, when I came up, I felt a certain heaviness when I came down. And let me tell you and try and describe to you the feeling that I had in the very beginning. So as I was in the void, though, I should tell you, I was thinking about our solar system, about planets. For those of you who have been with me for a while, you know that I'm fascinated by these things, the solar system, seeing different planets and having that desire to see planets. And so I was thinking about that as I was in the void. I was thinking, I want to see this. I want to see this in this moment. And that was probably around the time that I came down, landed on my feet, and I was in this apartment, or at least it looked like either an apartment or a house. Now, the first thing I noticed was that I felt very, 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 very heavy, but heavy and muscular. Like, how people that are very muscle bound, they walk around and, they're just like, it almost feels like a shirt or whatever couldn't even contain them. I mean, they're just, the bodybuilders are so big, they can barely move their arms sometimes, or if they're trying to stretch their arms over, maybe they're trying to stretch an arm over to the other shoulder and it's hard for them to do that. That is what it felt like. It felt like I was so full of muscle that I could barely move. That's what it felt like. I felt so heavy. And for a time, I was really, really struggling. Now, one of the theories my mother and I had when we were discussing this was that maybe I've always been kind of fascinated with Jupiter. And maybe I was in some way inside or on the planet. But guys, not on the outside where it's chaotic. I mean, I understand that especially specific planets have certain atmospheres and things like that because I've read about this, and so I know. So I'm not saying that there's some apartment on Jupiter. What I believe may happen, especially with my beyond body experiences, I may be manifesting a staging area, or what many of you in the shifting community call a waiting room, where you create it. So you create this place to be able to transition from one place to the next. So in some way, perhaps, maybe, I can't be 100% certain of this, I created this as a place for me to go, okay, I'm here, now I'm going to transition out into the planet, because once I transition out there, it's going to be completely chaotic, because the atmosphere and everything else is going to be so completely different. And I guess the gravitational pull, what I was feeling, it made sense, because I felt this pull and it was so tremendous. So I'm struggling to walk around this place that I may have manifested. And I could feel all of this weight. And so I moved to this room, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can get out and go and see what's outside through going through this door. I'm having trouble even pulling the door, guys. It was like the heaviest thing I ever felt. I was trying to pull and pull and pull, and I was starting to get it open, and I was looking inside, and through the hall, the light was flickering. It was just flickering as if it was, the kind of thing where if you if the power, if not the power, the light, if the light was going out in your place, in your apartment, in your house, it might flicker before that. That's what this was totally like. It was like the light just kept flickering and flickering, and I was just like struggling, trying to keep the door open. And then finally, I just let it shut. I was just like, oh my gosh. I can recall kind of pushing on the walls to see maybe this was astral projection instead of beyond body, but I can tell you that I felt everything physically. It felt very, in many ways, like the 3D. And it's made me think to myself, guys, this is another theory as I'm going through this experience today. It's really kind of made me think that the beyond body / shifting thing is a way to experience other realities in a more physical way. Astral projection is a different thing in the sense that we're in many ways in the spirit realm, and we're experiencing things as a spirit being more or less with our astral body. But in the beyond body / shifting, we're able to experience things in a more physical 3D way. And that's where I believe the evolution is happening with all of this, is this sense of being able to experience things in a more three-dimensional, more physical way. Very interesting. So I decided after that I needed to go back. So I just closed my eyes and I said, I want to be back. And I was back. I opened my eyes and that was the experience. So yes, it was a very interesting experience, guys. It was interesting speaking with my mom about it. And I'd be interested if you guys have anything to say about the experience, about what your thoughts are, or if you've had similar experiences. I would love to hear that. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.